Convenience comes at a cost. I know you love your Uber Eats and your cell phone and your internet and a lot of things, but there is a hidden cost, a hidden price that we are all paying for the convenience that we are receiving. So, if you don't live under a rock, you probably heard of the global IT outage that happened a couple weeks ago, where flights were canceled and flights were delayed and planes weren't taken off, and there was a lot of craziness going on. So I happened to be one of the lucky few who was traveling during that time. Some pretty important travels too. And as I'm in the airport and I'm seeing everybody lose their minds because of the fact that they couldn't fly when they needed to, it really had me thinking, because it was a pretty stressful day for me too. I got to my location probably 4 hours later than I was supposed to. My first location, I didn't even get to make it to my second location, which was a big deal. But I was just watching my fellow humans kind of break down and spaz and cry. I was seeing all types of stuff. And because planes weren't taking off, there was just a lot of bodies in the airport as well. It felt very apocalyptic. It felt like the world was ending. Because the world kind of was ending, to be honest. Imagine if the internet and everything, the internet in general, imagine if the internet just shut down. That is most successful people these days' livelihood. That is, excuse me, don't cut that. I want the burp in the podcast. But there was just a lot of nonsense happening. And again, if the internet just shut down like that, that showed us what would happen. We'd all lose our minds, or at least most of us would. And this sheds light on the cost that convenience has. You see, convenience introduced too often becomes a necessity. What do I mean by that? Well, think of how insane it is that we can even say that we want to be on another side of the world tomorrow or next week and just make it happen. That is not normal. And it was not something that was just gifted to us in the world. It's not something that is actually physically possible for a human to do. But our fellow masters, a group of master engineers and master entrepreneurs and master artists, said that humans can fly. And humans will make it happen. And they made it happen. But the problem with that is, again, convenience introduced to a high degree becomes necessity. We now rely on the convenience. We now feel entitled to the convenience. And that was evident to me on that day. Everybody in the airport who was spazzing and complaining and whining and had a negative attitude because of what was going on, next to none, I would guarantee none of those people had anything to do with the process of building the airline system. Yet they feel entitled to the benefits that it brings. Experiencing this put me in a state of gratitude because flying like that should not be possible. And someone who didn't even know me created this thing that is so great, and now I am able to reap the benefits of it. But it is by no means an entitlement to me. It isn't by no means something that just belongs to me just because I have the money to pay for a ticket. And that's the cost. That's the cost that convenience comes with. The cost of convenience is gratitude. When you are exposed to something over and over to the point where it is convenient, it has lost its novelty. It is very easy for us to expect it. And once you expect something to be, you don't feel grateful for it. A lot of you listening to this podcast don't even feel grateful for the fact that you're breathing right now. But if you could all of a sudden if your breath was just all of a sudden you just couldn't breathe for 5 seconds and then it was just restored instantly, imagine how grateful you would feel to breathe. But the problem is you expect to breathe. You expect to wake up. You expect to experience all these commodities that are not just things that are here for you, but these are things that were built because someone was selfless enough to build these things. And so us collectively as a species, we need to start actually paying more attention to everything, to what we experience, paying attention to the car that you drive, that you drive in traffic all angry trying to get to work. But imagine if you had to take public transportation instead. Imagine if your car didn't even work. These are not things that are just bestowed upon us because we're alive. No, these are things that we have the privilege of experiencing. Breath is a privilege. Health is a privilege. Waking up is a privilege. Getting on an airplane. Airplanes, the airline industry has effectively made teleportation a real thing. That is a privilege. Imagine if you moved away from home, never being able to see your family again. But these days you can just see them with a snap of a finger with FaceTime or by booking a flight and going to see them. None of these things should be taken for granted. And when I was at the airport on this day, I realized that we're taking it for granted. We're taking it for granted because hopefully that situation woke a lot of people up to that fact. Because even me, I don't even fly that much, but it definitely took that experience for me to really look at the airline industry and be like, wow, I'm actually grateful for this, because not only is the engineering for planes complicated, the whole system, everything going on behind the scenes when you just get on a plane and get to your next destination is a whole lot of mathematics and a whole lot of coordination between thousands of individuals who are literally just trying to make sure that you don't see any of that. There's a lot going on behind the scenes in that situation, and it's what makes it such a flawless situation. So I think even for the global IT outage and the flights that were canceled and all of that, I think they're doing a pretty good job for it to be an industry that big that is that effective in creating teleportation. And so the problem is you are probably, if you're lacking gratitude in that area, you're probably lacking gratitude in many areas of your life. And so here's something that I do to bring more attention to how grateful I am for the life that I have, but also still remaining hungry for more. So it's there's nothing wrong with wanting more out of life, but when that turns into not being grateful for what you actually do have, that's where the problem seeps in. I'm a big journaler. I'm a big writer. I write a lot. You can see those writings in the Thriving Artist newsletter. Link in the description below. Free newsletter, by the way. But journaling, gratitude journaling is a big habit that I would advise everyone to take on, because life can get stressful, and when life gets stressful, we forget. Think about it. You don't really wake up like so happy that you don't have a cold or that you're not sick unless you just had one. Right? When you're sick, all you want is just normalcy, like health. I just want to feel normal again. That's all you can think about when you're not healthy. But we can practice gratitude just by bringing our consciousness to the things that we have, even when we don't lose them. Bring consciousness to the fact that you're healthy and breathing right now, even if you're not sick. Bring consciousness to the fact that you have a job, even if you hate it, because if you didn't, you'd be homeless. So because you have a job, it's setting you up to live a better life. It's giving you the possibility to create a better life, but it would be much harder to do that without a job. Be grateful for your friends, for your parents, but write these things down at least a couple times a week. Just imagine your life without the things that you have right now that you are taking for granted. Imagine waking up being conscious but not being able to breathe. And then be grateful for your breath. The people that you don't talk to, or that you don't talk to enough, express that gratitude in your journal, and maybe give them a call every now and then. And express gratitude for the convenience that we do have in our life. For the car, for Uber, for the airline industry, because at the end of the day, these things are amazing things that are helping humanity move forward faster. But if you don't bring your consciousness to the fact that you are not entitled to these things, you didn't create these things, and they don't just belong to you because you exist, you will understand that it is important to be grateful, and then you won't have to suffer the consequences that come with convenience. If you enjoyed today's podcast episode, give it a like, subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode, and comment your thoughts. And also subscribe to the Thriving Artist newsletter, a free email newsletter on the same topics. The link is in the description below. And have a beautiful rest of your day. Peace.